The Dakota Access Oil Pipeline.
The Dakota Access Oil Pipeline is
over the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Dakota Access Pipeline. Some controversial Dakota Access Pipeline keeps growing as riot police.
It's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this position, and positions have hardened, right? I mean, you have the protesters, the water protectors, as they call themselves. You know, there are several groups there. You have folks that are opposed to all pipeline and all infrastructure groups. You have a group of people from Standing Rock that again, I think are more interested in environmental justice issues. You have the pipeline that's invested literally billions of dollars in this project. And you have the state government that's interested in having this completed because of their self-interest in getting the North Dakota's oil to refineries. I think the first thing that the majority owes the minority is to come to issues with an understanding of history and an understanding that history, you know, so what did Faulkner say, right? The past isn't dead, it's not even past. And that's where we're at in terms of DAPL. And I think what's important at the DAPL protest is to talk a little bit about the history of the river, the Missouri River. The tribe obviously is objecting to the pipeline being placed under the Missouri River, but it's technically going to be placed under Lake Oahe, right? That's the property at issue. Well, Lake Oahe is not a natural lake, it's a reservoir. And it's the result, it along with several other reservoirs on the Missouri River are the result of the Pick-Sloan project from the mid-20th century. Hundreds of thousands of acres of tribal land was flooded. And that land was the best farmland, it was the best hunting land, it contained most of the timber, and was a huge, huge impact on the tribes. In fact, the tribes were impacted by the Pick-Sloan project well in excess of any other group of people. In their tribal council chamber on the back wall is a huge, blown up, very, very large photo that shows one of their prior tribal chairmen, George Gillette, weeping into his hands as the Pick-Sloan project is being signed off on, because he knows what this means for his people and his tribe. That history impacts everything that's going on there.
My name is Myron Dewey. I'm Paiute Shoshone. From the Walker Paiute tribe and the Bishop Paiute tribe, and sharing our story, those who control the media control the culture. We know everything about white people, but you know nothing about us. Right. In the homelands, in our own homelands, you know nothing about us. Have you ever heard of Agaitika, Kupadika, Kuitika? These are indigenous people predating Western contact. You know, our ancestors are with us, but I think it's accountability. To honor indigenous people, but to honor your forefathers is to know about the land you're on. To know why certain towns are called Dakota. Look up what that means. Look up what 1851 Treaty of Fort Laramie means. Honor yourselves by educating yourself on the homelands you're on. And you'll see that the roads here are all built on indigenous highways, predating Western contact. Many people don't know that. And that's why I think it's so important to educate ourselves and why we are protecting the earth, but also the water, because water is life. And I challenge everybody, if you don't believe water is life, then quit drinking it for 30 days.
I have a special niche in Indian law and nation building consultation with indigenous communities and nations. And that is to help them understand what retained jurisdictions that they have that are validated by the Constitution, but not under the jurisdiction of the United States. No matter where you're talking about, it's going to be within the former 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty territory, where the tribes retain criminal jurisdiction according to the Supreme Court of the United States. There would be civil jurisdiction possibly retained in some areas. Definitely there would be cultural resource jurisdiction over, the tribe would have jurisdiction over their burials and cultural objects on public lands. There's no clear diminishment by Congress in those areas. So the pipeline was originally planned to go north of Bismarck. There was a very small creek up there is all that it would be passing over from my understanding. Here it's going over, you know, a major, well, Missouri River is a pretty big, and if you look on the map, it would be so close to the res, it would look like it was right, the pipe was going right onto the border. I think it's 100 yards off reservation, but it's right under the tribe's water source, which they would have jurisdiction over their drinking water, especially the water quality, which would be another jurisdiction. So there's all kinds of invasion of jurisdiction here without permission.
One of the reasons the Corps of Engineers rerouted it south of Bismarck was concerns about the potential impact of the project on Bismarck's drinking water.
But I seen tear gas. I seen percussion grenades.
Down once they get here, they're holding a multi-round grenade launcher.
Maybe you didn't see the shotgun shells. But this is what we're dealing with.
Taser!
So what I would say is when you think about what the majority owes the minority, I think you need to think about environmental justice. And if infrastructure projects are to benefit all of us, benefit all North Dakotans, then why is it just the Standing Rock Sioux people in North Dakota that are asked to bear the heightened risk of potential impact in the water, the building of the pipeline across their sacred sites? And why were they not given a full and fair sovereign seat at the table during the early discussions and analysis of where the pipeline would be sited? And if they were consulted, were they listened to? Right? It's one thing to go to a meeting and tell somebody this is what's going to happen, and they tell you they don't like it, and then you go and do it anyway. That's not consultation. Were they listened to? Were their concerns listened to? And again, I'm not anti-pipeline. I'm not even necessarily anti this pipeline. But when you take that infrastructure and you say to a minority population, you are going to bear a disproportionate burden of this infrastructure development, that's a violation of the doctrine of what we call environmental justice. And to me, this is an environmental justice issue.
Continue to ask questions and hold those accountable for what you don't know, but hold yourself accountable most of all for what you don't know. Know what you don't know, because your generation is the next generation of leaders.